Krishna. We'd like to welcome everyone to our reading of Krishna book to Srila Prabhupada. And as we always do, let us offer our respectful obeisances to Prabhupada and to each other. Namo Om Vishnuvadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharane Nirvasesha Sunyavadi Paskachade Satarne. And to each other, Vancha Kalpadubhischa Kripa Sindhu Bievacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So for all of you online, you can note the subtitles at the bottom of the page. And we're in chapter 88, towards the end of the chapter, entitled The Deliverance of Lord Shiva. While Shukadeva Goswami was narrating the history of Vrikasura, he addressed Maharaj Parikshit as Bharat, referring to King Parikshit's birth in a family of devotees. Maharaj Parikshit was saved by Lord Krishna while in his mother's womb. Later, he could have asked Lord Krishna to save him again from the curse of a Brahmana, but he did not do so. The demon, however, wanted to become immortal by killing everyone with the touch of his hand. Lord Shiva could understand this, but because he had promised, he gave him the benediction.
The demon, however, being very sinful, immediately decided that he would use the benediction to kill Lord Shiva and take away Gauri, Parvati, for his personal enjoyment. He immediately decided to place his hand on the head of Lord Shiva. Thus, Lord Shiva was put into an awkward position because he was endangered by his own benediction to a demon. This is an instance of a materialistic devotees misusing the power derived from the demigods.
Without further deliberation, the demon Brekasur approached Lord Shiva to place his hand on Lord Shiva's head. Lord Shiva was so afraid of him that his body trembled, and he fled from the land to the sky and from the sky to other planets, until he reached the limits of the universe. Above the higher planetary systems, Lord Shiva fled from one place to another, but the demon Brekasur continued to chase him. The predominating deities of other planets such as Brahma, Indra and Chandra could not find any way to save Lord Shiva from the impending danger. Wherever Lord Shiva went, they remained silent.
At last, Lord Shiva approached Lord Vishnu, who is situated within this universe on the planet known as Shvetudweep. Shvetudweep is the local Vaikuntha planet beyond the jurisdiction of the influence of the external energy. Lord Vishnu, in his all-pervasive feature, remains everywhere, but wherever he remains personally is the Vaikuntha atmosphere. In the Bhagavad-Gita, it is stated that the Lord remains within the heart of all living entities. As such, the Lord remains within the heart of many low-born living entities, but that does not mean he is low-born. Wherever he remains is transformed into Vaikuntha. So, the planet within this universe, known as Shvetudweep, is also Vaikuntha Lok. It is said in the Shastras that residential quarters within the forest are in the mode of goodness. Residential quarters in big cities, towns, and villages are in the mode of passion. And residential quarters in an atmosphere wherein indulgence in the four sinful activities of illicit sex, intoxication, meat eating, and gambling predominates are in the mode of ignorance. but residential quarters in a temple of Vishnu, the Supreme Lord, are in Vaikuntha. It doesn't matter where the temple is situated, the temple itself, wherever it may be, is Vaikuntha. Similarly, the Shvetudvipa planet, although within the material jurisdiction, is Vaikuntha.
Lord Shiva finally entered Shvetadweep Vaikuntha. In Shvetadweep, there are great saintly persons who are completely freed from the envious nature of the material world and are beyond the jurisdiction of the four principles of material activity, namely religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation. Anyone who enters into that Vaikuntha planet never returns to this material world. Lord Narayan is celebrated as a lover of his devotees, and as soon as he understood that Lord Shiva was in great danger, he appeared as a brahmachari and personally approached Lord Shiva to receive him from a distant place. The Lord appeared as a perfect brahmachari with a belt around his waist, a sacred thread, a deerskin, a brahmachari stick, and rudra beads. Rudra beads are different from tulsi beads. Rudra beads are used by the devotees of Lord Shiva. Dressed as a brahmachari, Lord Narayan stood before Lord Shiva. The shining effulgence emanating from his body attracted not only Lord Shiva, but also the demon Vrikasura.
Lord Narayana offered his respects and obeisances unto Vrikasura just to attract his sympathy and attention. Thus, stopping the demon, the Lord addressed him as follows: My dear son of Sakuni, you appear very tired, as if coming from a very distant place. What is your purpose? Why have you come so far? I see that you are fatigued, so I request you to take a little rest. You should not unnecessarily tire your body. Everyone greatly values his body because only with the body can one fulfill all the desires of one's mind. We should not, therefore, unnecessarily give trouble to the body.
The brahmachari addressed Bhikasur as the son of Sakuni just to convince him that he was known to his father. Sakuni Bhikasur then took the brahmachari to be someone known to his family, and therefore the brahmachari's sympathetic words appealed to him. Before the demon could argue that he had no time to take rest, the Lord informed him about the importance of the body, and the demon was convinced. Any man, especially a demon, takes his body to be very important. Thus Brikasur became convinced about the importance of his body. Then, just to pacify the demon, the brahmachari told him, My dear Lord, if you think that you can disclose the mission for which you have taken the trouble to come here, maybe I shall be able to help you so that your purpose will be easily served. Indirectly, the Lord informed him that because the Lord is the Supreme Brahman, he would certainly be able to adjust the awkward situation created by Lord Shiva.
The demon was greatly pacified by the sweet words of Lord Narayan in the form of a brahmachari, and at last he disclosed all that had happened in regard to the benediction offered by Lord Shiva. The Lord replied to the demon as follows: I myself cannot believe that Lord Shiva has in truth given you such a benediction. As far as I know, Lord Shiva is not in a sane mental condition. When he had a quarrel with his father-in-law, Daksh, he was cursed to become a pishach, ghost. Thus, he has become the leader of the ghosts and hobgoblins. Therefore, I cannot put any faith in his words. But if you still have faith in the words of Lord Shiva, my dear king of the demons, then why don't you make an experiment by putting your hand on your own head? If the benediction proves false, then you can at once kill this liar, Lord Shiva, so that in the future he will not dare give out false benedictions.
In this way, by Lord Narayan's sweet words and by the expansion of his superior illusion, the demon became bewildered and he actually forgot the power of Lord Shiva and his benediction. He was thus very easily persuaded to put his hand on his own head. As soon as the demon did that, his head cracked as if struck by a thunderbolt, and he immediately died. The demigods from heaven showered flowers on Lord Narayan, praising him with shouts, "All glories and all thanksgiving," and they offered their obeisances to the Lord. On the death of Vikasura, all the denizens in the higher planetary systems, namely the demigods, the Pitras, the Gandharvas, and the inhabitants of Janaloka, showered flowers on the personality of Godhead.
Thus, Lord Vishnu, in the form of Brahmachari, released Lord Shiva from the impending danger and saved the whole situation. Lord Narayana then informed Lord Shiva that this demon Vrikasura was killed as the result of his sinful activities. He was especially sinful and offensive because he wanted to experiment on his own master, Lord Shiva. Lord Narayana then told Lord Shiva, "My dear Lord, a person who commits an offense to great souls cannot continue to exist. He is vanquished by his own sinful activities, and this is certainly true of this demon who has committed such an offensive act against you. Thus, by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana, who is transcendental to all material qualities, Lord Shiva was saved from being killed by a demon. Anyone who hears this history with faith and devotion is certainly liberated from material entanglement as well as from the clutches of his enemies. Thus ends the Bhakti-yoga purport of the 88th chapter of Krishna, the deliverance of Lord Shiva. Hari Bol.
Chapter 89, the super excellent forward of Krishna. Long ago, there was an assembly of great sages on the bank of the river Saraswati, who performed a great sacrifice under the name Satra. In such assemblies, the great sages present usually discuss Vedic subject matters and philosophical topics. And in this particular meeting, the following questions was raised. The three predominating deities of this material world, namely Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu, and Lord Shiva, are directing all the affair of this cosmos, but who among them is the supreme? After much discussion on this question, the great sage named Bhrigu, the son of Lord Brahma, was deputed to test all three predominating deities and report to the assembly as to who is the greatest.
Being thus deputed, the great sage Bhrigu Muni first of all went to his father's residence in Brahmalok. The three deities are the controllers of the three material qualities, namely the qualities of goodness, passion, and ignorance. The plan decided upon by the sages was for Bhrigu to test which one of the predominating deities possesses the quality of goodness in full. Therefore, when Bhrigu Muni reached his father, Lord Brahma, because Bhrigu wanted to test whether Brahma had the quality of goodness, he purposely did not offer his respects to his father, either by offering obeisances or by offering prayers. It is the duty of a son or a disciple to offer respects and recite suitable prayers when he approaches his father or spiritual master. But Bhrigu Muni purposely failed to offer respects just to see Lord Brahma's reaction to this negligence. Lord Brahma was very angry at his son's impudence, and he showed signs which definitely proved this to be so. He was even prepared to condemn Bhrigu by cursing him. But because Bhrigu was his son, Lord Brahma controlled his anger with his great intelligence. This means that although the quality of passion was prominent in Lord Brahma, he had the power to control it. Lord Brahma's anger and his controlling his anger are likened to fire and water. Water is produced from fire at the beginning of creation, but fire can be extinguished with water. Similarly, although Lord Brahma was very angry due to his quality of passion, he could still control his passion because Bhrigu Muni was his son.
After testing Lord Brahma, Bhrigu Muni went directly to the Mount Kailash, where Lord Shiva resides. Bhrigu Muni happened to be Lord Shiva's brother. Therefore, as soon as Bhrigu Muni approached, Lord Shiva was very glad and personally rose to embrace him. But when Lord Shiva approached, Bhrigu Muni refused to embrace him. "My dear brother," he said, "you are always very impure. Because you smear your body with ashes, you are not very clean. Please do not touch me." When Bhrigu Muni refused to embrace his brother, saying that Lord Shiva was impure, the father became very angry with him. It is said that an offense can be committed either with the body, with the mind, or by speech. Bhrigu Muni's first offense committed toward Lord Brahma was an offense with the mind. His second offense committed toward Lord Shiva by insulting him, criticizing him for unclean habits, was an offense by speech. Because the quality of ignorance is prominent in Lord Shiva, when he heard Bhrigu's insult, his eyes immediately became red with anger. With uncontrollable rage, he took up his trident and prepared to kill Bhrigu Muni. At that time, Lord Shiva's wife Parvati was present. Her personality, like Lord Shiva's, is a mixture of the three qualities, and therefore she is called Trigunamayi. In this case, she saved the situation by evoking Lord Shiva's quality of goodness. She fell down at the feet of her husband, and with her sweet words, she talked him out of killing Bhrigu Muni.
After being saved from the anger of Lord Shiva, Bhrigu Muni went directly to the planet Svetadvipa, where Lord Vishnu was lying on a bed of flowers in the company of his wife, the goddess of fortune, who was engaged in massaging his lotus feet. There, Bhrigu Muni purposely committed the greatest sin by offending Lord Shiva by his bodily activities. The first offense committed by Bhrigu Muni was mental. The second offense was vocal, and the third offense was corporal. These different offenses are progressively greater in degree. An offense committed within the mind is a positive offense. The same offense committed verbally is comparatively more grave, and when committed by bodily action, it is superlative in offensiveness. So, Brihumuni committed the greatest offense by kicking the chest of the Lord in the presence of the goddess of fortune. Of course, Lord Vishnu is all merciful. He did not become angry at the activities of Brihumuni, for Brihumuni was a great Brahmana. A Brahmana is to be excused even if he sometimes commits an offense, and Lord Vishnu set the example. Yet it is said that from the time of this incident, the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, has not been very favorably disposed toward the Brahmanas, and therefore, because the goddess of fortune withholds her benedictions from them, the Brahmanas are generally very poor. Pruhumuni's kicking the chest of Lord Vishnu was certainly a great offense, but Lord Vishnu is so great that he did not care. The so-called Brahmanas of the Kali Yuga are sometimes very proud that a great Brahmana like Brihumuni could touch the chest of Lord Vishnu with his foot. But in fact, when Brihumuni kicked the chest of Lord Vishnu, it was the greatest offense, although Lord Vishnu, being greatly magnanimous, did not take it very seriously.
Instead of being angry or cursing Brihumuni, Lord Vishnu immediately got up from his bed along with his wife, the goddess of fortune, and offered respectful obeisance to the Brahmana. He addressed Brihumuni as follows: My dear Brahmana, it is my greatest fortune that you have come here. Please therefore sit down on this cushion for a few minutes. My dear Brahmana, I am very sorry that when you first entered my home, I could not receive you properly. It was great offense on my part, and I beg you to pardon me. You are so pure and great that the water which washes your feet can purify even the places of pilgrimage. Therefore, I request you to purify the Vaikuntha planet where I live with my associates. My dear father, O great sage, I know that your feet are very soft like a lotus flower, and that my chest is as hard as a thunderbolt. I am therefore afraid that you may have felt some pain by kicking my chest. Let me touch your feet to relieve the pain you have suffered. Lord Vishnu then began to massage the feet of Bhrigu Muni.
The Lord continued to address Bhrigu Muni. My dear Lord, he said, my chest has now become sanctified because of the touch of your feet, and I am now assured that the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, will be very glad to live there perpetually. Another name for Lakshmi is Chanchala, indicating that she does not stay in one place for a long time. Therefore, we see that a rich man's family sometimes becomes poor after a few generations, and sometimes we see that a poor man's family becomes very rich. Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, is Chanchala in this material world, whereas in the Vaikuntha planets, she eternally lives at the lotus feet of the Lord. Because Lakshmi is famous as Chanchala, Lord Narayan indicated that she might not have been living perpetually by his chest, but because his chest had been touched by the feet of Bhrigu Muni, it was now sanctified, and there was no chance that the goddess of fortune would leave. Bhrigu Muni, however, could understand his position and that of the Lord, and he was struck with wonder at the behavior of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because of his gratitude, his voice choked up, and he was unable to reply to the words of the Lord. Tears glided from his eyes, and he could not say anything. He simply stood silently before the Lord.
After testing Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and Lord Vishnu, Bhrigu Muni returned to the assembly of great sages on the bank of the river Saraswati and described his experience. After hearing him with great attention, the sages concluded that of all the predominating deities, Lord Vishnu is certainly the greatest. In Srimad Bhagavatam, these great sages are described as Brahmavadinam. Brahmavadinam means those who talk about the absolute truth but have not yet come to a conclusion. Generally, Brahmavadi refers to the impersonalists or to those who are students of the Vedas. It is to be understood, therefore, that all the gathered sages were serious students of the Vedic literature, but had not come to a definite conclusion as to who is the Supreme Absolute Personality of Godhead. But after hearing of Bhrigu Muni's experience and meeting all three predominating deities, Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, and Lord Vishnu, the sages concluded that Lord Vishnu is the supreme truth, the personality of Godhead. It is said in Srimad Bhagavatam that after hearing the details from Bhrigu Muni, the sages were astonished because although Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva were eminently agitated, Srila Prabhupada. Yeah, completely lost my place. Were immediately agitated. Lord Vishnu, in spite of being kicked by Bhrigu Muni, was not agitated in the least. The example is given that small lamps may be agitated by a slight breeze, but the greatest lamp, or the greatest illuminating source, the sun, is never moved, even by the greatest hurricane. One's greatness has to be estimated by one's ability to tolerate provoking situations. The sages gathered on the bank of the river Saraswati concluded that one who wants actual peace and freedom from all fear should take shelter of the lotus feet of Vishnu. Since Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva lost their peaceful attitude upon a slight provocation, how can they maintain the peace and tranquility of their devotees? As for Lord Vishnu, however, it is stated in the Bhagavad-Gita that anyone who accepts Lord Vishnu or Krishna as the supreme friend attains the highest perfection of peaceful life.
The sages thus concluded that by following the principles of Vaishnava Dharma, one becomes actually perfect, but that is, one follows all the religious principles of a particular sect and does not become advanced in understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu. All such labor of love is fruitless. To execute religious principles means to come to the platform of perfect knowledge. If one comes to the platform of perfect knowledge, then he will be uninterested in material affairs. Perfect knowledge means knowledge of one's own self and the Supreme Self. The Supreme Self and the individual self, although one in quality or different in quantity. This analytical understanding of knowledge is perfect. Simply to understand I am not matter, I am spirit is not perfect knowledge. the real religious principle is devotional service or bhakti. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad-Gita, where Lord Krishna says, "Give up all other religious principles and simply surrender unto me." Therefore, the term dharma applies only to Vaishnava dharma or Bhagavad dharma, by following which one automatically achieves all good qualities and advancements in life.
The highest perfectional knowledge is knowledge of the Supreme Lord. He cannot be understood by any process of religion other than devotional service. Therefore, the immediate result of perfect knowledge is achieved by executing devotional service. After attainment of knowledge, one becomes uninterested in the material world. This is not because of dry philosophical speculation. The devotees become uninterested in the material world not simply because of their theoretical understanding but because of practical experience. When devotee realizes the effect of association with the Supreme Lord, he naturally hates the association of so-called society, friendship and love. This detachment is not dry but is due to achieving the highest status of life by realizing transcendental mellows. Realizing transcendental mellows. It is further stated in Srimad Bhagavatam that after attainment of such knowledge or such detachment from material sense gratification, one's advancement in the eight opulence attained through mystic yoga practice, such as the anima, laghima, and prapti siddhis, is also achieved without separate efforts. The perfect example is Maharaj Ambarish. He was not a mystic yogi but a great devotee. Yet, in a disagreement with Maharaj Ambarish, the great mystic Durvasa was defeated in the presence of king's devotional attitude. In other words, a devotee does not need to practice the mystic yoga system to achieve power. The power is behind him by the grace of the Lord, just as when a small child is surrendered to powerful father, all the powers of the father are behind him.
When a person becomes famous as a devotee of the Lord, his reputation is never to be extinguished. Lord Chaitanya, when discoursing with Ramananda Rai, questioned, "What is the greatest fame?" Ramananda Rai replied that to be known as a pure devotee of the Lord Krishna is the perfect fame. The conclusion, therefore, is that Vishnu Dharma, or the religion of devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is meant for persons who are thoughtful. By proper utilization of thoughtfulness, one comes to the stage of thinking of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By thinking of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one becomes free from the contamination of the faulty association of the material world, and thus one becomes peaceful. The world is in a disturbed condition because of a scarcity of such peaceful devotees in human society. Unless one is a devotee, one cannot be equal to all living entities. A devotee is equally disposed toward the animals, the human beings, and all living entities, because he sees every living entity as a part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. In the Isha Upanishad, it is clearly stated that one who has come to the stage of seeing all living beings equally does not hate anyone or favor anyone. The devotee does not hanker to possess more than he requires. Devotees are therefore akinchan. In any condition of life, a devotee is satisfied. It is said that a devotee is even minded, whether he is in hell or in heaven. A devotee is careless to all subjects other than his engagement in devotional service. This mode of life is the highest perfectional stage from which one can be elevated to the spiritual world, back home, back to Godhead. The devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are especially attracted by the highest material quality, goodness, and the qualified Brahman is the symbolic representation of this goodness. Therefore, a devotee is attached to the Brahminical stage of life. He is not very much interested in passion or ignorance, although these qualities also emanate from the Supreme Lord Vishnu. In Srimad Bhagavatam, the devotees are described as Nipun Buddhaya, which means that they are the most intelligent class of men. Uninfluenced by attachment or hatred, the devotee lives very peacefully and is not agitated by the influence of passion and ignorance.
It may be questioned here why a devotee should be attached to the quality of goodness in the material world if he is transcendental to all material qualities. The answer is that there are different kinds of people existing in the modes of material nature. Those in the mode of ignorance are called rakshasas. Those in the mode of passion are called asuras. And those in the mode of goodness are called suras, or demigods. Under the direction of the Supreme Lord, these three classes of men are created by material nature. But those in the mode of goodness have a greater chance to be elevated to the spiritual world, back home, back to Godhead. Thus, all the sages who assembled on the bank of the river Saraswati to try to determine who is the supreme predominating deity became freed from all doubts about Vishnu worship. All of them thereafter engaged in devotional service, and thus they achieved the desired result and went back to Godhead.
Those who are actually eager to be liberated from material entanglement would do well to accept at once the conclusion given by Sri Sukadeva Goswami. In the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is spoken by Sukadeva Goswami, it is said that hearing Srimad Bhagavatam is extremely conducive to liberation. The same fact is now confirmed by Suda Goswami. If anyone who is traveling aimlessly within the material world cares to hear the nectarian words spoken by Sukadeva Goswami, certainly he will come to the right conclusion, which is that simply by discharging devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one will be able to stop the fatigue of perpetually migrating from one material body to another. In other words, one who becomes fixed in loving devotional service to Vishnu will certainly be able to get relief from this journey of material life. And the process is very simple. One has to give oral reception to the sweet words spoken by Sukadeva Goswami in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam.
Another conclusion is that we should never consider the demigods, even Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, to be on an equal level with Lord Vishnu. If we do this, then according to the Padma Purana, we are immediately categorized as atheists. Also, in the Vedic scripture known as Hari Vamsa, it is stated that only the Supreme Personality Godhead Vishnu is to be worshipped, and that the Hare Krishna Mahamantra or any such Vishnu mantra is always to be chanted. In the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Lord Brahma says, both Lord Shiva and I are engaged by the Supreme Personality God as to act in different capacities under his direction. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is also stated that the only master is Krishna and that all others in all categories of life are servants of Krishna only. In Bhagavad-Gita, it is confirmed by the Lord that there is no truth superior to Krishna. Sukadeva Goswami also, in order to draw attention to that fact that among all Vishnu Tattva forms, Lord Krishna is 100% the Supreme Personality of Godhead, narrated the story of an incident which took place when Lord Krishna was present.
Once upon a time in Dwarka, a Brahman's wife gave birth to a child. Unfortunately, however, just after being born and touching the ground, the child immediately died. The Brahman father took the child and went directly to the palace of the king. The Brahman was very upset because of the untimely death of the child in the presence of his young father and mother. Thus, his mind became very much disturbed. Formerly, when there were responsible kings, up to the time of Dwapar Yuga, when Lord Krishna was present, the king was liable to be blamed for the untimely death of a child in the presence of his parents. Similarly, such responsibility was there during the time of Lord Ramchandra. As we have explained in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the king was so responsible for the comforts of the citizens that he was to see that there was not even excessive heat or cold. Now, the Brahman whose child had died, thinking that there was no fault on his own part, immediately went to the palace door with the dead child in his arms and accused the king as follows.
The present king, Ugrasena, is envious of the Brahmanas. The exact word used in this connection is Brahmadrisha. One who is envious of the Vedas, of a qualified Brahmana, or of the Brahmin caste is called Brahmadrish. So the king was accused of being Brahmadrish. He was also accused of being Satadi, falsely intelligent. The executive head of a state must be very intelligent to see the comforts of the citizens. But according to the Brahmana, the king was not at all intelligent, although he was occupying the royal throne. Therefore, the Brahmana also called him Lubda, which means greedy. In other words, a king of an executive head of state should not occupy the exalted post of president or king if he is greedy and self-interested. But it is natural that an executive head becomes self-interested when he is attached to material enjoyment. Therefore, another word used here is Vishayatmana.
The Brahmana also accused the king of being Kshatriya Bandhu, which refers to a person born in the family of Kshatriyas or the royal order, but lacking the qualifications of a royal personality. A king should protect Brahminical culture and should be very alert to the welfare of his citizens. He should not be greedy due to attachment to material enjoyment. If a person with no qualifications represents himself as Kshatriya of the royal order, he is not called a Kshatriya but a Kshatriya Bandhu. Similarly, if a person is born of a Brahmana father but has no Brahminical qualification, he is called Brahma Bandhu or Dvija Bandhu. This means that a Brahmana or a Kshatriya is not accepted simply by birth. One has to qualify himself for the particular position. Only then is he accepted as Brahmana or a Kshatriya.
Thus, the Brahmana charged that his newly born baby was dead due to the disqualification of the king. The Brahmana took it to be most unnatural, and therefore he held the king responsible, who also find in Vedic history that if a Kshatriya king was irresponsible, sometimes a consulting board of Brahmanas maintained by the monarchy would dethrone him. Considering all these points, it appears that post of monarch in the Vedic civilization is very responsible one.
The Brahman therefore said, "No one should offer respects or worship to a king whose only business is envy. Such a king spends his time either hunting and killing animals in the forest or killing citizens for criminal acts. He has no self control and possesses bad character. If such a king is worshipped or honored by the citizens will never be happy. They will always remain poor, full of anxieties and aggrievement, and always unhappy. In modern politics, the post of monarch has been abolished, and the president is not held responsible for the comforts of the citizens. In this age of Kali, the executive head of a state somehow or other gets votes and is elected to an exalted post, but the condition of the citizens continues to be full of anxiety, distress, unhappiness, and dissatisfaction.
The Brahmana's second child also died at birth, and the third also. He had 9 children who all died at birth, and each time he came to the gate of the palace to accuse the king. When the Brahmana came to accuse the king of Dwarka for the 9th time, Arjuna happened to be present with Krishna. On hearing that a Brahmana was accusing the king of not properly protecting him, Arjuna became inquisitive and approached the Brahmana. He said, "My dear Brahmana, why do you say that there are no proper Kshatriyas to protect the citizens of your country? Is there not even someone who can pretend to be a Kshatriya, who can carry a bow and arrow, at least to make a show of protection? Do you think that all the royal personalities in this country simply engage in performing sacrifices with the Brahmins but have no chivalrous power?" Thus, Arjuna indicated that Kshatriyas should not sit back comfortably on the pretext of performing Vedic rituals, but must rather be very chivalrous in protecting the citizens. Brahmanas, being engaged in spiritual activities, are not expected to do anything which requires physical endeavor. Therefore, they need to be protected by the Kshatriyas so that they will not be disturbed in the execution of their higher occupational duties.
If the Brahmana feel unwanted separation from their wives and children, Arjuna continued, and the Kshatriya kings do not take care of them, then such Kshatriyas are to be considered no more than stage players. In dramatic performances in the theatre, an actor may play the part of a king, but no one expects any benefits from such a make-believe king. Similarly, if the king or the executive head of a state cannot give protection to the head of the social structure, he is considered merely a bluffer. Such executive heads simply live for their own livelihood while occupying exalted posts as chiefs of state. My Lord, I promise that I shall give protection to your children, and if I am unable to do so, then I shall enter into blazing fire so that the sinful contamination which has infected me will be counteracted.
Upon hearing Arjun speak in this way, the Brahmanas replied, My dear Arjun, Lord Brahmana is present, but he could not give protection to my children. Lord Krishna is also present, but he also could not give them protection. There are also many other heroes such as Pradyumna and Aniruddha, carrying bows and arrows, but they could not protect my children. The Brahmana directly hinted that Arjun could not do that which was impossible for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He felt that Arjun was promising something beyond his power. The Brahmana said, I considered your promise to be like that of an inexperienced child. I cannot put my faith in your promise.
Arjun then understood that the Brahman had lost all faith in the Kshatriya kings. Therefore, to encourage him, Arjun spoke as if criticizing even his friend Lord Krishna. While Lord Krishna and others were listening, he specifically attacked Lord Krishna by saying, My dear Brahman, I am neither Sankarshan nor Krishna, nor one of Krishna's sons like Pradyumna or Aniruddha. My name is Arjun, and I carry the bow known as Gandiv. You cannot insult me, for I have satisfied even Lord Shiva by my prowess when we were both hunting in the forest. I had a fight with Lord Shiva, who appeared before me as a hunter, and when I satisfied him by my prowess, he gave me the weapon known as Pashupat. Do not doubt my chivalry. I shall bring back your sons, even if I have to fight with death personified. When the Brahman was assured by Arjun in such exalted words, he was somehow or other convinced, and thus he returned home.
When the Brahmana's wife was to give birth to another child, the Brahmana began to chant, My dear Arjun, please come now and save my child. After hearing him, Arjun immediately prepared himself by touching sanctified water and uttering holy mantras to protect his bows and arrows from danger. He specifically took the arrow presented to him by Lord Shiva, and while going out, he remembered Lord Shiva and his great favor. In this way, he appeared in front of the maternity home, equipped with his bow known as Gandiva, and with various other weapons.
Arjuna, who apparently had not left Dwaraka because he had to fulfill his promise to the Brahmana, was called at night when the Brahmana's wife was to give birth to the child. While going to the maternity home to attend to the delivery case of the Brahmana's wife, Arjuna remembered Lord Shiva and not his friend Krishna. He thought that since Krishna could not give protection to the Brahmana, it was better to take shelter of Lord Shiva. This is another instance of how a person takes shelter of the demigods. This is explained in the Bhagavad-Gita. Kamais dair hridayana prapatyande anya devada. A person who loses his intelligence because of greed and lust forgets the Supreme Personality of Godhead and takes shelter of the demigods. Of course, Arjuna was not an ordinary living entity, but because of his friendly dealings with Krishna, he thought that Krishna was unable to give protection to the Brahmana and that he would do better to remember Lord Shiva. Later, it was proved that Arjuna's taking shelter of Lord Shiva instead of Krishna was not at all successful. Arjuna, however, did his best by chanting different mantras, and he shot arrows up and down to guard the maternity home from all directions. The Brahmana's wife delivered a male child, and as usual, the child began to cry. But suddenly, within a few minutes, both the child and the Arjuna's arrows disappeared into the sky.
It appears that the Brahmana's house was near Krishna's residence and that Lord Krishna was enjoying everything that was taking place. Apparently in defiance of his authority, it was he who played the trick of taking away the Brahmana's baby as well as the arrows, including the one given by Lord Shiva, of which Arjuna was so proud. Anta batatu phalam tesam tad bhavati alpamedhasam. Less intelligent men take shelter of the demigods due to the bewilderment and are satisfied with the temporary benefits they offer.
In the presence of Lord Krishna and others, the Brahman began to accuse Arjuna. Everyone, see my foolishness. I put my faith in the words of Arjuna, who is impotent and who is expert only in false promises. How foolish I was to believe Arjuna. He promised to protect my child when even Pradyumna, Anirudh, Lord Balram and Lord Krishna had failed. If such great personalities could not protect my child, then who can do so? I therefore condemn Arjuna for his false promise, and I also condemn his celebrated bow Gandiv and his impudence in declaring himself greater than Lord Balram, Lord Krishna, Pradyumna and Anirudh. How can anyone save my child who has already been transferred to another planet? Due to sheer foolishness only, Arjuna thought that he could bring back my child from another planet.
You'd like 5 more minutes? Thus condemned by the Brahmana, Arjuna empowered himself with a mystic yoga perfection so that he could travel to any planet to find the Brahmana's baby. It seems that Arjuna had mastered the mystic yoga power by which yogis can travel to any planet they desire. He first of all went to the planet known as Yamaloka, where the superintendent of death, Yamaraj, lives. There he searched for the Brahmana's baby, but was unable to find him. He then immediately went to the planet where the king of heaven, Indra, lives. When unable to find the baby there, he went to the planet of the fire demigod, then to the planet of the Nriti demigod, and then to the moon planet. Then he went to Vayuloka and Varunaloka. When unable to find the baby on those planets, he went down to the Rasatala planet, the lowest of the planetary systems. After traveling to all these different planets, he finally went to Brahmaloka, where even mystic yogis cannot go. By the grace of Lord Krishna, Arjuna had that power, and he went above the heavenly planets to Brahmaloka. When he was unable to find the baby, even after searching all possible planets, he then attempted to throw himself into a fire, since he had promised the Brahmana he would do so if unable to bring back his baby. Lord Krishna, however, was very kind toward Arjuna, because Arjuna was the most intimate friend of the Lord. Lord Krishna persuaded Arjuna not to enter the fire in disgrace. Krishna indicated that since Arjuna was his friend, if he were to enter the fire in hopelessness, indirectly, it would be a blemish on him. Lord Krishna therefore checked Arjuna, assuring him that he would find the baby. He told Arjuna, "Do not foolishly commit suicide."
After addressing Arjuna in this way, Lord Krishna called for his transcendental chariot. He mounted it along with Arjuna and proceeded north. Lord Krishna, the all-powerful personality of Godhead, could have brought the child back without effort, but we should always remember that he was playing the part of a human being. As a human being has to endeavor to achieve certain results. So Lord Krishna, like an ordinary human being or like his friend Arjuna, left Dwaraka to bring back the Brahmana's baby. By appearing in human society and exhibiting his pastimes as a human being, Krishna definitely showed that there was not a single personality greater than he. God is great. That is the definition of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, at least within this material world, while he was present, Krishna proved that there was no greater personality within the universe.
So that concludes our 1 hour of reading Krishna book to Srila Prabhupada. Next week we'll find out how Krishna found the baby of the Brahmana. So as we always do, let us offer our respectful obeisances to Srila Prabhupada and to each other. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti-Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvasesha Sunyavadi Paskachade Satarne. And to each other, Vancha Kalpadurubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Srila Prabhupada, Jai Krishna Book, Shri Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna.